Welcome to Check In with Jason Lauritsen, where we explore how to create human, connected workplaces that employees love and that fuel organizational success. Each week, I invite someone who is leading the way in this work to join me for a conversation to help educate and inspire us. My guest today is Jessica Adams. Jessica is the Chief People and Culture Officer at the 𝘰𝘯𝘴𝘶𝘬𝘕. She is a recognized HR leader with expertise in scaling teams, culture, and retention. She's also a frequent contributor and speaker. She's been honored by Workforce Magazine, EBN, and Crain's for impact in the field. The 𝘰𝘯𝘴𝘶𝘬𝘕 was also recently named not only one of the top 100 most inspiring workplaces in North America, but very recently added to the top 100 globally. And this is actually how I became aware of the organization and your work, because I would argue that I think your company's name is certainly the most interesting and memorable on the entire list. And so I've always been curious to learn more about what's going on at a company called the 𝘰𝘯𝘴𝘶𝘬𝘕. So Jessica, thank you so much for accepting the invitation to tell us a bit more today.
Jason, thrilled to be here. Always great to geek out on some of these HR topics.
Well, before we get into talking about what you're actually doing inside the organization, I do want to take a few minutes to get to know you and the organization a little bit better. So let's start with just kind of broadly, if you would, tell me a little bit about what you do and about the organization.
So KCL, the 𝘰𝘯𝘴𝘶𝘬𝘕, our affectionate nickname for it, we are a fully remote organization. And what we do as a business is that we are focused on helping consumers defy the MSRP. And so really what that means is we want to help you find a deal, be able to afford things you might not otherwise be able to afford, get that coupon, save that money, find that free deal, and really be able to stretch your dollar, which in this environment is so important for everyone. KCL, as I mentioned, we're fully remote. We're about less than 150 people on the team. We've been fully remote since COVID, and we really are focused in a whole bunch of different areas around tech and editorial content, marketing, and so really enjoy working with all different types of employees and skill sets.
Sounds like a lot of like creative types or creators kind of, I'm assuming, in that sort of business. So their remote probably works really well in that kind of setting, I would suspect.
Correct. I think that flexibility also enables us to provide content constantly to people that are coming to our site or are shopping, because really now it's a 24/7 opportunity.
For sure. So I always like to ask how people, like I'm curious about people's origin stories. So I always like to kind of ask, like, what is your origin story? How did you find your way into the work of HR and culture and sort of organizational people work?
I love that you asked this question, Jason, and listening to your podcast. It's been fascinating for me too, to hear how people come into this career. So for myself, I actually decided to join human resources when I was a senior in high school. And so in high school was talking with my mom, trying to figure out what it was I wanted to do. And she said, talk to people that your dad and I know. And so I ended up talking with someone who is still my mentor today, 𝘠𝘦𝘧𝘪𝘯𝘪𝘵, hi. And what she spoke about is that two reasons why she loved this field is that she gets to change people's lives for the better. And she got to be just as successful in her professional world as she was in her personal world. And so that really was something for me that was, it really resonated. And so went to college, focused on psychology, got my master's in leadership and HR, and have been in this field ever since. And really am so passionate about it and love waking up. First thing I do in the morning is I check out LinkedIn and see what's new in the field and what everybody's talking about, and love to be able to think about how can we apply that, components of it or all of it, to the work that we're doing and the employees that we're supporting.
Well, I love that you shared that, because it is, I mean, as I have had these conversations, and I've been curious about this kind of throughout my entire career since I became aware that HR was a thing, is how accidental it is for most of us that we find our way into this work. It's sort of like our passion leads us into it, or we sort of discover it as something like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing that I could do. I'm aligned to that. The fact that you knew in high school, I think you're the first person I've talked to that identified HR that early in life and then was like, yes, this is what I'm going to do. So that's awesome. I think it's hopefully maybe that, people will stumble into these stories and realize like maybe this is a good path for them earlier on. But it's fun that you shared that story because I think it is cool, and we need more people finding their way into this work earlier. We need people telling good stories and selling it the way that your mentor did. So that's kind of awesome.
I would agree. And I really saw it the first time I was able to extend a full-time job offer to someone, and the celebration and excitement that they had, I got it. And I still get that feeling even today, all these years later, that you're helping someone do something that they're passionate about too.
Yeah, it's so fun. So what is it? I mean, obviously you are very passionate about this, but I'm curious what it is about your role and the work you get to do. What stands out as the thing that you love the most? Like where is the I guess most intense passion for the work today?
Boy, I think it's really helping someone be their whole selves at work. So they get that opportunity to come to work, make an impact, feel good about that. And then that translates into what they do outside of the office too. And giving them space to also be who they are at work, I think is important. And I really have found that a lot of that just comes from communication. And so being open, giving people an opportunity to share their feedback. You don't always have to agree with it, but you can listen to it. And maybe you take aspects of it and incorporate that into some of the work that we're doing from an HR perspective going forward, or even at the executive level. How can we take that feedback where it touches things more broadly than just some of the HR initiatives too? And so I like being able to be that area where people can go and share their candid feedback. And again, communicate back with them so they know how they have helped influence what we're doing as a business. Mm.
So giving them the space, I love that, the space to share, but also feeling as if they're heard and that sort of sharing made a difference somehow.
Agreed, 100%.
Love it. Okay, so we're going to, I could actually ask a bunch of follow-up questions on that, but we have another topic that we had discovered that we're going to talk about. And I think it's interesting because clearly you're doing a lot of, I think, really meaningful and effective work around culture within your organization. But today, and like when we were kind of exploring what we wanted to talk about, there was a strategy that kind of you offered up that I thought, boy, this is something I don't think a lot of organizations are focusing on as much as maybe they should, or it's a missed opportunity, and that is benefits. I will be honest, like I think because of the nature of the work that I do, and I spend so much time focused on, management and the interaction between managers and employees and all of that I miss. I think sometimes I just don't think about that as much as I could. And so it's really fun to hear you and the passion you have around how you're using creative benefits to engage and retain people.
Again, it goes back to that being your whole self when you come to work. And I think if you are stressed in your personal life, we're going to see it in your professional life too. And so one of the reasons that drew me to the Crazy Coupon Lady was that it was a remote first organization. And when I got here, one of the first things that we did about 2 years ago was really build with intentionality what being remote first looked like. And so it was not just that we were working from home. It was, what is our structured system? What are our expectations? How can we ensure that your definition of being a successful remote worker matches our definition of being a successful remote worker? We also realize that a lot of people are drawn to a remote workforce because they want a little bit more flexibility. So we made it really part of the culture where meetings are recorded. There's a lot of asynchronous communication, but we get it. You might be in a meeting. So our ask is just acknowledge the message and then get back to it when you can. Have those documented expectations so people really understand what that means. And then really from an HR perspective, let's take a minute to also talk about what it looks like to have a workspace that is going to be healthy for you and is going to support you, and make sure that you take those walking meetings if you need to get outside and get some vitamin D or get some steps. Get that tread pewter. And we've built a stipend for our employees to build home offices that are healthy and ergonomically correct as well. And our own internal surveys are showing that our employees really are finding that this model is improving mental health, their balance, their productivity as well. And, we know how important that piece is and getting it set up from the get-go. Speaking of from the get-go, I probably should have started with when we are recruiting candidates. One of the things that we have found that's super important is not only explaining all of the benefits that we have, but also taking a moment for them to understand not only the company, but the role. And so here are our expectations. Here's how we manage this role and what success looks like. Here's what career growth in this role will look like, but also taking it a step further to say, and here's your manager and a bit about your manager inside the organization, a bit about your manager outside of the organization. So we like to ask our managers to share their favorite snack or what their first job was, because we find that it helps people connect almost immediately on more of a human level with folks. And so that's been a really important foundation for us. We are tracking candidate experience. Our goal is at least a 4 out of a 5 rating. Right now we're at a 4.5%. So we're super proud of the fact that our candidates are enjoying the experience, even if they don't get the role that we're looking for. And when we are recruiting, one of my more favorite benefits is Survivor. Everyone here are huge fans of the TV show Survivor. And so we really incorporate that into our team meetings where we do Survivor challenges. We ask people to create videos that are in that Survivor realm. And so we have created a benefit on top of all of our other paid leave benefits, where if you are cast in the TV show Survivor, you'll get 5 weeks of fully paid leave for anyone that appears on the show, because we want you to try out. We want to fan person over you because you've been cast in the show. And really, it was such a natural and organic thing to do because everyone here really loves the TV show Survivor. So that was a benefit that was unique to our culture and is something that when we talk about it with candidates, we get chuckles. We get people excited about it. We have yet to have somebody get cast, but we've had a couple of people try out. So fingers crossed that we see someone taking advantage of this leave of absence very soon. I think some of the other benefits that we're seeing is with our workforce. We heard a lot about wanting more support with fertility and some of the gender affirming benefits. And so we have partnered with Carrot to do that so that we can provide support to our employees. The business doesn't have to get involved unless the employee obviously wants to talk about it with us. But they get that support, they get that medical access, and then they get some stipend as well to help them with that. So we've been hearing really positive things about what we've been able to do with Carrot. One of the other positives that we've heard about that was not a reason why we partnered with Carrot, but they provide menopause support. And you can do that all through telehealth. And so we have been hearing from folks how impactful it has been to be able to schedule a 15-minute meeting with a medical provider and be heard and get support and quickly change some of the symptoms that people have been hearing about. And so it's been a lovely add-on that we weren't planning for, but that we're seeing people take advantage of. I think otherwise, we also really love the quarterly well-being events. Being fully remote, it's important to provide opportunities for people to connect with each other. And we've been able to do that through these quarterly well-being events that focus on financial, physical, and community health. And so we have done cocktail and mocktail making, we've done gardening classes. And what's great is that even during the session, as we're learning new things, we also see the chats going crazy, and we see the follow-ups afterwards where people are sharing pictures of the lettuce that we grew together in the spring and how well it's doing this fall, the salads that they're making. So it continues to give people an opportunity to connect, which is super important in our remote world. One of the other things that's been really, really wonderful about KCL is that they have their own foundation. There's a big refugee population in the Boise area, which is where we're headquartered. And so there's a lot of work that is done to help that population. And it's really natural with what we do at KCL, where we help find things for backpack stuffing for back to school, sneakers. We find communal pots, and we find all of these things with deals and discounts, TVs, laptops, couches, all of these things so that we can help set up this refugee community. But it was really focused in the Boise area. And so what we have done recently is that we have created a policy where you can volunteer locally in your community with someone else from KCL. And so it's twofold, that impact. You are giving back to your local community, and then you get the opportunity to be face-to-face with someone in our remote work culture and build that rapport, build that relationship, because we all know when you have a best friend at work, you tend to stay longer, you tend to feel happier. It's worth extra money on your salary, that sensation of having that best friend at work. And so we're seeing teams that are starting to take advantage of that, which has been, something that we love to see, because we want to build that relationship. Happy to talk more about some of the other things we're doing for managers too, but
a lot of good stuff, right? This is why, like, all of these things that you've laid out, this is why we're having this conversation. So much stuff. I have to ask a couple questions. One is, I guess, as you think about a benefit, I get the sense that you think of benefits maybe a little more broadly than what a lot of organizations do. So I'm curious, when you think about what a benefit is, something you're going to offer to employees, like how do you think about that? What are the sort of boundaries of what a benefit is in your way of thinking about it?
I love that you've asked this question. And I'm going to preface this by saying it might not be what you're looking for, but there is a very cool new benefit that we uncovered, and it is called 𝘕𝘢𝘳𝘳. And the goal of this benefit is to get you in to a dermatologist to make sure that your skin is healthy. So it's a skincare prevention benefit. And part of the way that they do that is they include some med spa type facials or treatments. And so I was super, super excited because our employee population is predominantly female. And I thought, what a great way to get everybody in to go to the dermatologist. And really, when I started diving into our insurance utilization, that doesn't even crack the top 20 reasons why people are using insurance. And so it was a discussion with our HR team and then also with our executive team to say, this is a cool benefit, but it may not move the needle. And what do we want to do about that? And so I share that example because I still think it's a really cool benefit and I would take advantage of it. But the ROI wasn't necessarily there for the impact to the company. So when I'm looking at benefits, I want to find something that is going to impact both the employee and the organization. And I think it's a cool bragging type benefit to be able to offer that. And I'm still hopeful that in the future, it's something we can explore. But I think, again, the key when you're looking at benefits is how much does it impact the employee? How much does it impact the company? And making sure that there's a good balance between the two. So one other benefit that we were looking at recently was something with a company called 𝘵𝘳𝘬𝘕. And what they do is they will give you discounted phone rates. And so you can get, for about $20 a month, 10 lines on your cell phone. And that one for us was a no-brainer to implement and roll out to our team because we are fully remote. We do use the phone. We expect our employees, while we do have a stipend for phone and internet, we expect our employees to provide that because we are in a remote organization and you need that to be able to do your role effectively. But we rolled that out and have seen tremendous adoption, which I was hoping we would see a couple of people do it and then share their stories and see more people enroll after that. But we had about a quarter of our workforce enroll in this in the first week that it was out, which is great adoption.
Yeah.
And we're still seeing more as more success stories are coming out.
So when you think about the benefit of benefits, right? Especially the benefit to the organization. One of the things that at least when I was in the seat organizationally, one of the things I was always aware of is that there's kind of two kinds of benefits. There's one that is a hard cost benefit, like what you described, is potentially like we're going to put in the dermatology benefit, and ideally that becomes a preventative mechanism that helps us then reduce costs on the back end someplace, or it has some other kind of benefit that we can capture as an organization. But then there's perceptive benefits, which I would say like your survivor leave policy. Like no one has used it. Right. And there's always like executives that will be like, well, we're going to like offer 5 weeks of paid or whatever it is of paid leave for this. And it's like, yes, but let's play this out, right? How many people do we think are actually going to like get it? Like maybe maybe it's awesome and we get a couple. Great. So that's 10 weeks of paid leave. Let's do the number on that. But I guarantee you that everyone you interview and probably every employee you have has told the story about that benefit to somebody and probably multiple people in their life. Even the people that you don't hire that interview with you are talking about this cool company they interviewed with, and they have this benefit where they da-da-da-da, and they're talking. And so, there's employer brand. There's employer brand sort of value created in that. There is engagement that's created. There's there's all kinds of benefits related to cultural perceptions and engagement and commitment and whatever. So I'm curious how do you bring that into the mix when you're thinking about offering a benefit? Like how do you weigh the sort of the harder to quantify impacts in comparison to those that are maybe a little more hard cost?
Well, I think it goes back to what you mentioned when we first started speaking, is that the 𝘰𝘯𝘵 is a name that sticks out to you. Mm-hmm. It's quirky, it's fun. And so we want to make sure that our benefits are reflective of that and who we are as a team and our culture. I think then taking it a step further, because that only goes so far. You need to make sure it's actually being utilized and it's having a positive impact. It's something that we hear about from candidates, to your point, but also from our employees. So they love the fact that we have so much that we do around Survivor, for example. But we do a deep dive all-employee survey every year to really understand with specifics from folks on our team what's working, what's not, what do you love, what do you miss, what do you wish we had? And really, we take that feedback to heart. And our employee population was so thorough in their responses. They were so thoughtful. They were so generous. And so we were really able to have this gold mine of data on what people want and what they like. And even if they don't maybe utilize a survivor leave yet, that they place the value on it, like you said. And so it's important to do that check-in. And again, it's something we like and something we want to encourage people to do. And gosh, won't it be great to see them in a tribal council meeting on a future episode of Survivor? I think it's also,
you get benefit from that, even from the people that don't watch Survivor.
Correct. I was not a Survivor watcher until I came here.
Yeah. I mean, even the people that don't watch will probably never in their life try out to be on Survivor. There's still benefit to them. That's something they will still talk about. There's sort of like a coolness by association that it creates. So I guess the whole point, my point of bringing that up is that when you're thinking about benefits, I think so many organizations think far too narrowly about how they can create massive impact within the organization with things that cost very little or at least are perceptively valuable. I think there's just not enough awareness of what you can do around those things.
I mean, one of the things that is so great about our team is their willingness to complete surveys. And so although you were just talking about low cost, which I'll talk about in a second, something that's a little higher cost are the family forming benefits that we have through 𝘺𝘠. We sent a survey to our team and said, would you be interested in this survey? And we had people completing the survey that said, even though this is not something I will ever take advantage of because of X, Y, or Z, I would love to work for a company that is willing to provide this benefit because I would have done it if I was going to start a family, or I would have valued this when I was going through my own surrogacy or adoption journey 10, 15 years ago. And so even with more expensive benefits, we found that our team saw the value for their own teammates, even if they couldn't take advantage of it. Same with some of these lower cost benefits. We just want to have our ear to the ground. And so my team has been really great about meeting with people, having conversations, trying to get that feedback and that information, because just knowing that it's there has a lot of benefit to our employees. So our 529 plans, we want to make sure that employees know that it's there and have it. And when they're ready, they can take advantage of it. We have a public speaking bonus plan as well. We have certification reimbursement plans. So even though it's not something that we see 100% of our workforce using, our team knows that they have it. And when they need it or they want it or they can build it into their schedule, they know that the company is going to support them in their own professional or personal growth and development.
My takeaway here is that I think if you are thinking about benefits, it feels to me like, and maybe it's probably more than this, but it feels like there's kind of 3 different variables at play. And that each of those variables can there's certainly like the potential cost or real cost of any benefit that you have. So that, some can be, at least on the surface, be really expensive based on a utilization, the per utilization. Some are really low on per utilization, whatever. But so that's part of it. But then there's also a utilization. And sometimes we think, well, a good benefit is only one that has high utilization, which I think you're proving out is not necessarily true. You have 0 utilization on the survivor leave.
Correct.
But that's a really valuable benefit, because I think then there's this third factor, which is sort of perceptive value, right, to the employee. So even if I'm never going to use it, if it feels like something that is valuable, or I feel good to be a part of a company that offers this, or it's fun to talk about, that also has value. So it seems like if you are thinking about those 3 variables, and like all of those variables are in play at time, it doesn't always have to be high utilization in order to be a really great benefit for your organization. And sometimes high utilization, you can have a high utilization on a benefit that doesn't really move the needle sometimes on retention either. And so I just think I think people need to, I guess my hope is what they take away from your example is to think more creatively and to think more strategically about the value of benefits and what benefits can look like.
You summarized that so well, Jason. I love it. Thank you. Because I do agree that benefits mean different things to different people. And just knowing that it's available to them has been a great retention tool for us.
All right. So let's transition. I think, like I said, it seems we could probably talk a lot more about that, but I think we've lit the fuse on that for folks. So we'll let them take and do with that what they will. And so I have a couple more questions that I would love to get your take on. One is that I like to ask those that are in a role like yours, what is a current kind of big challenge or obstacle that you're wrestling with at work right now?
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about AI. And so I think that is something that everyone is exploring and trying to figure out what that means for each individual's organization. So one of the big things that we're doing and we're hoping to have even more traction on in 2026 is how can we take some of this behavioral data that we have from our employees and really make a personalized experience for them. So Gallup polls are something that strengths finders are something that we have at this organization. We've also launched predictive index for our entire employee population. Some of our teams doing smarter collaboration. And so we're learning a lot of valuable insights from these assessments. And what are we doing with them? So we are trying to formalize something for our managers so that they can provide personalized feedback where it might be the same message for you, but you're going to hear it told to you in a different way than someone might say it to me, just based on who we are as individuals. And so we're taking all that data, we're building that into Airtable. Our next goal, we're self-learning Zapier so that we can prototype personalized manager feedback based on these assessments that we already have, that we're already using, that we're already doing for different aspects and areas of our organization, so that we can have AI-informed coaching. So which will ensure that the feedback is phrased to match each individual employee's style, which means they hear it better, they take it to heart better, and then they can apply it better in their day-to-day work and world. So that is one of the big challenges that we're seeing is the appropriate way to utilize AI.
I love that, and that's a really interesting, sort of application that I haven't heard as many people sort of thinking through. But I love that as sort of a prompt for us to think about how can we use AI to harness the power, because that's a problem we've had for years, right? The flavor of the month HR assessment or whatever. We collect all this data and we use it for a team building session or for whatever, a period of time. And then it's where does it go and how does it continue to help? And the managers, like, you give them one session and then they're left to figure it out on their own. And so in being able to equip them with insights, that's sounds like great promise there. And I'll be excited to follow your progress there, because I think that feels like there's something there.
Well, and I will look forward to giving it to you. And I would say it's coordinating what we're doing, this AI work, also with some manager training, which we have really been working on for the last couple of years. So last year, it was really building the basics. How can we make sure that managers are aware of time management and different communication styles, how to hold a one-on-one? This year, it's really moving beyond the basics and shifting to more behavioral training. We want our managers to understand their own leadership style and what are the motivators and the strengths and the needs of each of their direct reports. And then this tool is going to enable our employees to take that even a step further so that their coaching and mentoring is said in a way that is really receptive to the person that's on the receiving end. So we're excited about what we're doing with AI and what we're doing for our managers as well. We know that when you have a good manager, you're going to be happier in your role. And when you have, according to Gartner, when you have personalized feedback, you're 3.5 times more engaged.
Well, I wish you great luck in that. And I am certain that it will have great impact because that all makes a great deal of sense. So we'll follow up. Maybe we'll do a follow up in a year from now to see how things are going. Would be fun. So, all right. So my last question for you is one that I love to ask everyone, and it's about kind of your vision or hopes for the future of work. And so when you think about work, capital W work broadly out, not just in your organization, but work broadly 5 years from now, what's one thing you hope will be different about work then than it is today?
I would love to see us also supporting employees to be healthier in the workplace. They're more financially stable. They're more connected than when they started at KCL. Again, want them to be able to build what is going to make the most sense for them with their own career growth, and then find the benefits that are going to support them for their own personal needs and development too.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So as we wrap up, I like to sort of check us out with a one-word checkout. And so in one word, how are you feeling as we wrap up our conversation today?
Invigorated.
And I am inspired. It's given me kind of some new energy around, you delivered all the way around. It's given me some new energy around thinking about benefits again and the power of benefits. So thank you for that. And I hope many others will take that back. Jessica, this has been awesome. Thank you for taking the time. It was fun to learn about this aspect of your work. If people would like to connect with you, are you available to them to connect out in the world somewhere?
Please do. Would love to find you on LinkedIn.
Well, and you said you're in LinkedIn every morning checking things out. So connect with Jessica on LinkedIn. We will put actually a link to your profile in the show notes. So we'll make that easy for people to find you. And thanks for making time. I really appreciate the conversation today.
Well, and thank you. And thanks for all your good work. It's great to hear what other professionals are doing so we can R&D, rip off and duplicate what makes sense in our own business.
That's it. That is the whole goal of the podcast, right? Fuel R&D, however you want to take that. So awesome. Well, thank you. And thank you for listening. I hope you will take some inspiration like I have and go back within your organization to maybe ask some questions about benefits. Maybe go talk to your employees a little bit about their experience and what's working and not working for them. I think that's one of the lessons here today is if you are asking good questions and your employees trust you enough to tell you the truth, you're going to be able to do some really cool things to support them. So go have some conversations, ask some questions, gather some insight, and think more creatively and broadly about benefits. I think you'll reap the benefits. Maybe you'll be on some inspiring workplace list in the future. And of course, as I remind you every time, reach out and check in with the people in your life that matter most to you. Maybe the most important thing you can do today. Till next time.